How the hell are you, Dan Reichert?
Oh, me?
Yeah, you.
I'm doing well. How are you, Jeff Bakalar?
I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there. I'm learning every day, and I hope when you and I get together, that learning continues.
Well, that's what we're doing this for, right? That's, the teacher can learn as well, right?
It's a charity show. This is what I've decided this is.
I don't know. You've always pitched yourself as a expert in every subject matter we've covered, so I think you've got all the answers, and I've got all the questions.
Once again, perhaps maybe we're at the point where it requires some sort of visual disclaimer at the bottom of the screen, just to let you and the viewing audience know that I don't consider myself an expert really in much of anything save for, I guess I'm like close to as much of an expert in hockey as I could possibly be.
I just love every comment that's just like, I don't think Jeff is an accredited molecular biologist. No one's claimed that.
Someone just scratching their chin, watching the show at home, being like, pointing at the screen like, something's telling me that this Bakalar fella, he may actually not be a rocket scientist, like a literal rocket scientist. But that's what makes, that's what, the charm of that is really
we're learning together.
The show.
Yeah, we're here to have some fun together and maybe learn a thing or two as a nice byproduct.
We're growing together. This week's topic, I mean, what is this, episode 9?
That sounds right.
My gosh, we are coming closer to that final exam.
A+.
Yeah, we're not doing letter grades. Tell
you what, if I get 100%, you have to put in the winning bid on that thing they're doing for MacGruber, where there's a charity auction that if you win, they fly you to watch the first 3 episodes of the MacGruber show with Will Forte and Ryan Phillippe, and they will give you tequila and cheeseburgers while you watch it.
I mean,
not gonna lie, I was thinking about ways to make that happen, but the bidding is currently at $100,000.
Even Dan can't Dan his way into that.
That's beyond my powers.
That's above our pay grade.
Yeah, I can't make a Power Hour DVD for that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to sell just a few of those.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's amazing. Although I still won't put it past you. I still am holding out hope that you will somehow Reichert your dumbass way into this thing and win it.
Hey,
somehow.
The top bidder gets to bring 5 friends, them and 5 friends or 4 friends, 5 people total or whatever. So maybe the mystery top bidder is a rich friend of mine. I don't think I have anybody that has any friends that have that much money, but
there's
maybe.
Always so many degrees of separation here, right? Like
that's true.
Like the forces at play in the universe, and when I say forces, I don't mean anything supernatural. I just mean like all the fucking Reichert vibes that have permeated through the internet and the planet will somehow conspire to get you to this thing. Like if Vegas, if we're taking odds on this, it would not be that. They would not be that crazy. These
5
odds
is a
are
lot. I'm
formidable.
sure whoever wins that, you don't have 5 super fan friends, right? Why don't you give me one of those slots?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're there. It's not that many. Like, yeah, it is very much a possibility. I'm telling you. I'm saying 50-50 at this point.
Okay, all right. Well, stay tuned.
Oh, gosh. Well, so today I wanted to do another video where we could probably share a lot of the learning. And I think part of the idea behind Back to School was not so much, when you're on the Beastcast and like the 4 or 5 of us would just be like, no, Dan, this is what happens when dirt goes, something where we'd have to explain a very basic concept.
Sure.
But at the same time, we were learning as well.
Of course.
So that's the energy behind this episode, and it's a very timely topic. We're gonna unpack what is going on with the current issues in the global supply chain.
Oh, okay. I've heard these words.
Yes. Now, this is something that I'd done a little bit of research on a couple weeks ago when a friend of mine was asking a lot of questions, and they thought because they're like, oh, you work professionally on the internet. You can explain to me with very fine detail why there's a global chip shortage. And like, I had heard things and I was like, oh, yes, it's not just COVID. It is a perfect storm of a lot of different things.
Are NFTs involved?
No, Dan.
Bitcoin?
You son of a bitch. No. This is
know
not
how
about
it works.
cryptocurrency. This is not
Okay.
about the blockchain. How dare you, sir?
I'll tell you,
No.
I'm at zero understanding on all that stuff and also supply chain stuff. So you got me at, if you had me at cameras, knowing some shit, you got me at pretty much zero with supply chains. I know factories and conveyor belts and then they get on a plane and go to people. I don't know supply chain stuff.
They go on a boat. That's where it's all boats.
Planes
it's
take
all
stuff.
boats. Nowhere near as much as boats.
I've seen The
Boats.
Wire season 2. I understand the boat thing. You got to be careful. You got to check those
Boats.
cargo containers.
Shipping containers, boats. Everything. It's boats and trucks. Boats, and then truck. Maybe some trains here and there, but mostly boats and trucks.
You know, it's kind of nice because like you don't hear about boats these days. And I think when I think of boats, I think of like the Titanic. Like I think of that as being a thing from 100 years ago. It's kind of fun to think that like boats are still doing boat things today.
Everything in your house, mostly the vast majority of everything, it's been on a boat. It's been on a truck.
I
That's
assumed
how
it was
got
all
there.
planes at this point.
Really, Dan?
Yeah. I kind of, if you would have, I would have assumed 95+% of things are shipped via plane.
Okay,
I didn't know boats were, I thought boats were like, oh, you can go on a fun brunch cruise type thing.
That's how like packages, like that's how like FedEx and UPS and the mail gets to you.
Right.
But for like the big produce thing, the things that get manufactured and
Like TVs?
Oh yeah, all boats.
So there's boats just filled with TVs?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, cool.
It's all boats. It's all these mega shipping containers.
So has my PlayStation 5 been on a boat?
Absolutely.
Wow. I've barely been on a boat. My PlayStation 5 is well traveled.
All the shit you own is more traveled than you are, dude, because it's got to come from where it probably is made in China, right?
Is that where like PlayStations and stuff are made?
Yeah,
Really?
I believe so.
I assumed it was from Japan. Huh.
Well, no, they design it. That Sony's a Japanese company. It's designed there.
Is
But
it a
then they
money thing?
outsource-
Is that why they make stuff in China? Is it cheaper to make stuff in China? I don't know. I don't know anything about this. I have no idea. Jeff's just staring at the camera.
This will be the most clipped moment in the history of this show. When
Well, I
Dan
assume-
Reichert said, "Is it cheaper to make stuff in China?"
Well, I see made in China on a lot of products, so there has to be a reason, and the answer to most questions is money, and so I would have to assume the reason things are made, why is it cheaper to make stuff in China?
Well, that's a whole other fucking thing. And
Okay.
look,
I know nothing about China.
My head is such a whirlwind right now that I need to just find my footing. The world is spinning. Where's the horizon? Put one foot on the ground. Here we go. And we're okay.
Okay. Learning.
We're going to talk about the global supply chain and why COVID plus a perfect storm of demand and bottlenecking and weird, not weird shit, but just a very vulnerable system has been exploited and has really, it's fucked us. It's fucked us in a major way. And there are shortages in stores and all. It's not great. And
Is this why I can't find a Switch OLED?
Yeah.
Ah, damn it.
I mean that shit was happening before the pandemic and this new shortage, but yes, ultimately. And it's not for the reasons you think. Like most people be like, COVID. It's like, well, yes, but also no, it's not COVID. It's a lot of things. COVID's one of those things. So we're going to watch an introductory sort of video that we have to watch because it's from like the Today Show, the LA Today Show. And it's also so ridiculous, these little segments on these like morning news shows that they're just, I don't know, it's more of just a commentary on like how they shoot these things and the editing that goes involved compared to like what we're used to now with like YouTube and Twitch and all this sort of stuff.
Sure.
That's just a funny thing. But there is morsels of information here that are useful. We're going to watch this video. It talks about the cargo ships that are backed up. Again, we'll learn about why this is a problem because what's on those ships and how important to the sort of supply chain it all is. Let's watch this. Stop when you need to, and then we're going to watch a much longer video that really gets on a more granular level using examples about why we're in the situation we're in. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay, here's the segment from the Today Show. I guess that's what today means, Today Show? I don't know
Yes.
who watches morning television like this. But again, let's watch this first one and try not to laugh at just the way they package this fucking story. But
look
anyway.
at all those boats.
Yeah, buddy.
Man,
here we go.
2021 and boats are a thing. Who knew?
Literally everyone.
-1.
Off the coast of Los Angeles, the reason we're paying more for everyday items and perhaps struggling to find some in the store,
oh yeah, newscaster voice.
in the Pacific.
It's just so cringy.
It's like the rest of the like entertainment, like every entertainment medium has moved and evolved and everything, but then you watch like a morning news thing and it's like, oh, we're still just doing it this way.
Yeah,
the same B-roll packages, the same voiceover.
It's gonna be a tough habit to break. I mean, yeah.
Container ships, mostly from Asia, stretching across the horizon.
Like this shit. Like showing me an establishing shot of like some fucking police boat.
Get
like
some B-roll of the siren.
It's like, dude,
To get an up-close view, we rode along with LA Port Police Marine 12. It didn't take long, the radar suddenly filled with ships. That's it.
Like making this like you're on some fucking espionage mission. Relax, dude.
This is Geraldo breaking into the vault.
Fucking relax. This isn't Ocean's 14, motherfucker.
Right here, they're right outside the outer harbor. 76.
You're telling me there's boats? There's boats right? They're all trying to get into this harbor?
I mean, to be fair, this would be me if I had that guy's job. Look at that! Look at all these boats. Is that just future me? Is this a Looper situation?
That's you in 20 years, dude.
I don't know how I got here, but I'm reporting on boats and harbors now. I thought I'd be doing video game stuff.
Turns out I'm fascinated by everything.
Ships waiting for up to 10 days each to enter the port of Los Angeles.
All right, you saw that, right?
76 ships waiting 10 days.
Yes, waiting 10 days when they've never, ever had to wait that long. It takes 10 days to get here.
Parking spots, or like, how does that?
It's that, but it goes a little more deeper.
Los Angeles or nearby Long Beach. Everywhere you look, there's a
That's
ship.
me.
Just sit.
Everywhere you look, boats on the water.
It's me in my SWAT life jacket.
Yeah, right? Is that not inflated, by the way? Like, what is that doing for you?
Something's funky about that, buddy.
My dude, what is it doing for you,
Also, life jacket over button-up newscaster shirts. It's a real look.
Yeah, like over his fucking pocket protector.
Let's just roast this dude.
You know what? I was saying before, but I was like, this is going to turn into us fucking just roasting this poor schmuck.
Sure.
Isn't it? But yeah, look at the size of that boat.
Hyundai, they do cars?
Is that the same Hyundai? It might be.
There's Honda, but Hyundai is that a different?
Hyundai, yeah, it could be the same. It does, for the purpose of this video, it kind of doesn't matter, but yeah, that's not even like a supremely large one, right? That's just
Good God. All right.
It's just one boat.
So they what's supposed to happen is that they park it in the dock, and then the Sabatkas take all the containers out and everything, and
I'm sorry, I'm unfamiliar with the word you just said.
The Sabatkas?
Is that what they're called?
Yeah, the Sabatkas are the guys that take the cargo containers and they drive the trucks and they forklift them down and stuff.
All right, maybe that's the first thing I learned today. We'll have to fact check that, but anyway.
Yeah.
Sitting out here in the water.
This dork.
500,000 containers. But this is just one component of the stretched global supply chain that...
Did they stretch the word stretched?
They fucking did.
Fuck
from
yeah.
Asian manufacturers across the Pacific to American consumers, now backed up and bottlenecked. Gene Soroka runs the Port of Los Angeles, America's biggest. How many ships a day now?
Yeah.
So those boats are all out there for like 10 days, right?
Yeah.
They don't get to like park to go sleep somewhere or get a snack?
I'm going to go ahead and say that there are living quarters on each of these boats because it takes fucking days and days to get across the ocean.
And so do they just have tons of sandwiches or something in case there's like a long parking wait?
Yes, Dan.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you pack for a trip, if I pack for a flight, I'm like, I might get hungry. I'll pack a sandwich.
A flight is a couple hours.
That's the thing. There's never a risk that like I'm going to be on the tarmac at my destination. It's like, sorry, you have to wait here for 10 days. It's like, shit, I brought one sandwich. So I'm assuming they have a lot of people on there and a lot of sandwiches.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Great.
I'm just trying to like... Yes, the boats take a long time to get there. They got a lot of food on there. You ever been on like a cruise ship? This is not a cruise ship. Cruise ships go for days and days and days, and they have tons of food and refrigerators on there. And it's just like, imagine you put your house on a boat, and you just like,
that's a fun
all the
idea.
things in your house they could put on a boat.
That's cool. Like electricity
cool.
and Wi-Fi and stuff.
I'm sure.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
Now are coming in here.
In the last month and a half, we're averaging 18 ships a day.
That's nearly double the number that arrived daily before the pandemic. Making matters worse, there aren't enough truck drivers to take the goods from the docks to the nation's stores.
The American importer cannot digest all of this cargo into their domestic supply chain.
I mean, use a microphone, guys. What are you doing? Why is he not mic'd?
Wait, that guy's got a lav.
This guy's off, but this like port master guy, they're just shooting like a iPhone camera at him or something. I have no idea.
On a windy dock. All right, that's a choice.
Yeah, there's not going to be wind here on the water. No.
50% of all truckers licensed to do business at the ports no longer come here.
Hired away by internet and big chain retailers.
B-roll
It's not
of
just
keyboard.
California, New York's ports are also backed up and leading to a shortage of everything from electronics to toys to cars and car parts, building materials, clothing, and sending prices higher. A lot of those holiday gifts you're hoping to give right now may be stuck sitting out here on the water. The question is whether they're going to be offloaded out of those massive containers onto the trucks, onto the rail lines, and to your local store.
Look how they pack that thing, dude.
That's crazy.
They disregard my man's O face right here, but like, look at like, I mean, I get it. Those things are so heavy, and like, it would take like a monsoon to sort of tip that over, I guess. I mean, the containers do fall into the water all the time.
Oh,
but,
wow. So what happens then? Do a bunch of like Nathan Drakes go in there and get rich?
I think they're just like, sorry.
Well, there's got to be someone jumping down there to get free shit.
I mean, it's probably destroyed. They're not airtight, those things.
Oh, if my dad knew about this, he would be fucking hanging out near harbors with a snorkel. Trying to get
it's
free
not
shit.
just the harbor. It's just anywhere. Like, I think the other video we're going to watch, or maybe not, I did see a video talking about how the incidence of shipping container overboards, like falling overboard, has risen in the last couple of years. But I just can't believe how they pack these things. It's fucking unbelievable.
That's impressive.
Anyway.
In time for the holidays.
So the books not showing up in time or showing up.
Yes, your books aren't getting delivered on time. We understand why that would happen. So yeah, that's the story with like the shipping container bottlenecking, and that's just in the two major California harbors. Over here on the better coast, it's the same problem in New York and New Jersey.
So, okay, I know this is a stupid question, but I'm just going to ask it. Why don't they just make more like parking spots for these? Like, wouldn't that fix it?
I mean, the answer to that is there's not enough people. Like, as we're going to learn in the next video, the problem is not just parking spots. It's manpower. It's personnel. Human beings, the people who are skilled for this, there's just not enough of that skilled labor set to meet this demand, and there's not enough truck drivers. It just trickles all the way down. They can't just build more ports because it's just not, they wouldn't have anyone to run them, essentially.
But they obviously got enough people piloting the boats because they're all sitting out there. But so like, do they need more Savatkas?
They need more of everything. And it's less about there's not one answer, right? So that's the thing. What we'll learn with this next video is that it's not just one answer. It's a ton of different things because of a system that relies on, or rather that is so vulnerable to the perfect storm of supply and demand that happened in the last couple years with the pandemic and the demand for stuff.
How do you
globally.
even like, when you're dealing with like a global thing where it's like, you don't have like a president of the world that can be like, we're going to fix this. Like, we're dealing with like multiple different countries and like ocean law and stuff. Like, so there's probably not an easy way to like have one dude come in and be like, hey, I got an idea.
There's
like,
not. There's not. So this is a longer video. We'll skip around in it a little bit. It's from Wendover Productions, which I've not heard of before. This is a pretty detailed video explaining the shortage situation. This is from earlier in the summer, around in the beginning of June. This video was put up, but it's very relevant right now. And it goes into just, the flaws in the system and why this perfect storm of details put us in this situation.
Okay.
So we'll watch this video, stop if you have any questions, and yeah, we'll see how far we can get through this.
COVID-19. That's the answer. That's what caused all the shortages of 2020 and 2021. That's it. COVID-19 caused these shortages in the same way that an iceberg caused the Titanic to sink, or the collapse of Lehman Brothers caused the Great Recession, or the straw broke the camel's back.
Just a quick also disclaimer. My man's got like a kind of occasionally peculiar way of delivering sentences and words. And maybe I shouldn't have put that out there in the beginning, so now you're going to be looking for it, but...
Well, no, right now I'm just thinking about how, like, if we're talking about things I don't understand anything about, that probably you could not succinctly explain, is they just mentioned the recession, and I don't understand number one, nothing about it. I understand. I don't know what I know it means there's money problems, but I don't know if that our house is more expensive, our house is cheaper. I don't know what causes it, what the effects are. I don't know what that affects in any way. I've heard the recession since 2008, and I know literally, I know nothing about recessions.
Honestly, I'll get flamed in the comments and whatever. Watch The Big Short.
I did on a plane, and I still don't understand it. I think I was drunk, and I don't know.
Watch it again. It's not airtight, but
I remember there's a part where they're explaining, they're like trying to like talk to the viewer, like, "Hey, here's what happened." It had something to do with somebody saying a house is more expensive than it was.
Without The Big Short, there's no Back to School. Okay, no, I'm kidding. but meaning like the way they talk to. The viewer. But
I'm just trying to remember. I don't remember anything. I think Steve Carell was in it. I think that's the only thing I remember.
He's in it. There's a lot of people in it. It's very. I think it's a very, very good movie. It makes the horrors of, like, the mortgage crisis explainable and understandable. Either way, we're not going to go into all that.
I have so many questions about that. Okay.
Watch The Big Short again. Maybe we'll do like a watch party one day and watch The Big Short together. I'd love to do that with you. But just watch that. We're not going to focus on the recession. We're not going to focus on fucking camels. We're going to focus.
I think I get camels.
Yeah,
they got humps and they're in the desert. What do you want?
Episode 11.
They store water in their backs. I don't know. Sure.
Camels.
Hooves. Yeah.
We must continue.
I get it.
What's really to say, COVID did cause these shortages. They would not have happened in the manner they did when they did, if not for the pandemic. But just as the Titanic's design flaws would eventually lead to calamity, the vulnerabilities in the global economy would eventually lead to a recession, and something would eventually break the overloaded camel's back, COVID caused these shortages, but it's not what made them possible. What made them possible is a fundamental structural vulnerability in the way today's supply chains work. On April 13th, 2021,
so this is a very specific example of explaining how the supply chain began to affect the country.
Now, let me just make sure I understand this. The term supply chain, I want to make sure I understand what that means. That just means like things getting made and getting to stores and getting to people.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, got it.
Boba Bliss, a small bubble tea shop in Dublin, California, posted on Facebook.
It's in Ireland, that's wrong.
You are correct. They're
wrong.
Back in April, they put this on Facebook is what we might have missed there.
Explained that they were having a hard time getting their ingredients, and that this would mean their menu would have to change daily, reflective of what they could actually get from their supplier. On April 15th, Mighty Boba in Canandaigua, New York, explained on Facebook that they would have to serve a smaller quantity of tapioca pearls in each drink and would no longer be offering extra as an option due to a shortage of this ingredient. Bing's Boba Tea in Tucson, Arizona said much.
I feel like we were good at 2 examples of this, but why not?
Yeah, but Boba having trouble getting boba.
And Tea Hut in San Francisco, California, then announced that they would have to raise their prices due to a 26% rise in their ingredient costs. All across the country, shops selling this popular Taiwanese drink simply could not get ingredients in the quantities demanded despite no dramatic increase in demand. However, thousands of miles away in Taiwan...
What ocean was that?
That's the Pacific.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't
I know
have said that.
Look,
That was,
I like
that was
globes and
fucking
I
mean.
like maps.
That was actually mean.
No,
was mean.
globes, maps. I know that type of stuff fairly well.
That was mean, Jeff. And I'm saying to you, Dan, I'm sorry.
I've taken great
mean.
offense. I've taken great offense.
That was mean. Also, half surprised you knew it.
Where much of the world's bubble tea ingredients are made, things were operating fairly normally. With single-digit daily case numbers for much of COVID's reign, factories on the island were able to work at full force in a way they couldn't elsewhere, but still, somehow, Boba Bliss, Mighty Boba, Bing's Boba Tea, Tea Hut, and thousands of other shops across the US couldn't get their product. The problem had less to do with anything happening in Taiwan, and more with what was happening here, in the waters off the coast of Los Angeles.
The waters
Throughout the first
off
half
the coast of Los Angeles.
Yeah, the way it's just weird, right? Like, I mean, it's fine. Everyone, develops their own sort of cadence, and it's a beautiful thing, the variety of it all. But, that's,
sure.
Yeah. Look, he's got 3 million subs, so he's doing something right?
Yeah.
Of 2021, a rotating cast of dozens of cargo ships have dotted the Pacific's
It's
horizon.
the prison from Face Off.
Yes, correct. That actually is the core of the supply chain shortage.
Yeah, well, they
Each
run
sat
out of
there-
magnet boots.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Which were the same ones used in Mario Brothers, the movie.
Uh-huh.
At anchor, sometimes
That I
for
know.
weeks, until a spot opened for them at the port of Los Angeles or Long Beach. This is abnormal. While the year prior, it was possible for a ship or two to have to wait a day.
Are boats still important? He asked.
I
me at the
honestly,
top of this.
I thought they were a novelty at this point. I thought they were for like cruises.
This image doesn't ring a bell to you? Doesn't look familiar?
A boat? I've seen Speed
A
2.
boat with thousands of cargo containers?
I mean, I've seen that, but I feel like I've seen that in movies in the 70s, Like, I don't think I knew this was still a big thing.
Have you been on a road and seen a truck?
Oh, yeah, I know trucks are still
What
a
do
thing.
you think's on the back of the truck?
Are those the same? Wait a minute. Are the backs of semi-trucks the same as those things? Are they just putting those on wheels? Hang on. That's fucking crazy. I had no idea. I've seen a million semi-trucks in my life. I just thought that was part of the truck. I didn't
It's not
realize it
al-
was the same box.
It's not always that. They put that. They do. Yes, they do. And they also put them on trains. You've seen
Wait
those
a
on
minute.
trains.
Wait a minute. If I'm on the highway, I see a semi-truck and it says Doritos or Hy-Vee or Price Chopper on the side. I
That's
don't see any of
different.
those with the branding. Are they putting that on the back of a truck and then slapping a Price Chopper sticker on it?
I do not know exactly. Okay, I do not know exactly what is inside the fucking Doritos truck.
It's probably Doritos.
But the back, you ever see a freight train crawling along a railroad?
Oh, like boxcars. Are those the same?
No, not box. That's people. I'm talking about a freight train.
Well, right. With the big, like, oh, here's a bunch of coal coming out the top.
However it's powered, it's
No,
usually
not
electricity.
powered. It's holding coal.
It's electricity. Stop.
Wait, what part's electricity?
The trains are all trains are electric.
I thought they all
probably.
ran on the like chugga with like
What?
smoke and stuff. I didn't know. Okay, I didn't know electricity was involved with trains.
Yeah.
Subways, yeah, because it's got the thing that'll shock you if you step on it. But I didn't know. I thought trains
You're
were like
telling me
ancient 1800s technology.
You're telling me you're still going around seeing choo-choo trains?
I thought that's what every train was.
I'm sure some trains still run on fuel. They have to.
So
But
a
a lot
normal
of trains
train,
are electric. A
when
lot
I
of trains
hear-
are electric.
When I hear a train, like a normal, just everyday train that you
Depends
hear.
on the thing. Like what you in Connecticut, that thing that goes into Penn Station, Grand Central,
Yeah.
electric.
The Metro North is all electric?
Electric.
What about one that's like carrying a bunch of cargo?
I would imagine some of them are fuel.
Okay.
Maybe most of them are fuel, but not coal.
I don't understand how power works at all.
Very clear. Very clear. Anyway, these shipping containers, they literally put them on trains sometimes. Like it's all modular in that way. I don't think not every one of these winds up on a truck in the same fashion, but like essentially, yes, it's all this modular sort of thing. Right?
So are these boxes going into a train box, or are they just like snapping these boxes onto train wheels like it was a Lego thing and then it goes down the track?
Yeah, they have to go onto a frame with wheels for tracks.
So there's the train box that you're putting these boxes in.
And you put it on the train frame, and then that goes.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I love how this is quickly becoming the MVP of back to school.
What do you do with the boxes when you're done? How do you get rid of those?
You don't get rid of them, you reuse them. What do you mean? And that's
so let's say
another
I
problem.
work at a grocery store. My dad would know this. He's probably going nuts watching this. Okay, they drop off this big-ass heavy metal box in the back of my grocery store. I take all the bread off of it, and then how do I have to call a place and be like, take this back? Like, what? If I'm the grocery store, I'm not putting anything back in the box.
Specific and ultimately unnecessary question, but like they reuse them, and actually it's becoming a problem because we're emptying so many of them. It's almost not worth it to bring the empty ones back. That's a whole other thing. We have to continue on this because...
Is there like a returning fee? Like what would keep... If somebody just wanted a big box, could you keep it? If I'm a grocery store and I could use a big metal box, can I just hang on to it and be like, no, you can't take it back?
They're 20 feet long. What are you're not doing anything with it.
You can use it to throw garbage in. Use it like a dumpster.
No, I award you no points for that. Nope. Here we go.
Day or two, it was never dozens of ships for dozens of days. Transit time from Taiwan to Los Angeles typically takes about 2 weeks, so an additional 10 days of waiting.
So why don't they do planes?
Double.
Damn.
Fucking 2 weeks? That's probably like a 10-hour flight. If that.
But you think you could fit everything that's on this thing on a plane?
They make big planes.
Not that big, dude.
It might take maybe 3 or 4 planes to get all that over there, but like that'd be way quicker.
No.
I should be the guy in charge of this stuff. I can fix this all.
Way less efficient.
What do you mean?
Just, pollution-wise. And
planes take more... Wait, why would planes do more pollution than boats?
Yes.
They do?
Just
Are
the
they
answer
just
is
worse?
yes.
Is it because they're higher up and so that farts the stuff closer to the ozone layer?
All I know is that I believe all of the world's cargo ships amount for 2.5% of our carbon pollution. I gotta imagine planes are much more than that.
Okay.
Also,
they just use more gas?
Yeah, planes probably use more. There's tons of engines, like 4 engines on a plane. Like there's a lot.
Okay. How many engines does a boat have?
I don't know.
How does a boat like this move?
Engines.
Like propellers?
Yeah,
Underneath the butt there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, how else is it moving?
That's a mystery to
Big
me.
Paws?
That'd be cool. Ooh, maybe that'd be more efficient.
Yeah, maybe.
There you go.
It's obviously not. I mean, they can get tailwinds and the boat can go faster because of wind. Just like a plane can.
I guess I never thought about how a boat like that moved.
Engines.
Okay.
It's got to be, right? That's how all boats move. Unless it's a sailboat.
Some have sails. Yeah. That's Mahardy.
Oh, right. Known sailor, Mike Mahardy. Let's go back to this before I lose my mind.
Of shipping times. The root cause of this was, of course, a perfect pandemic-fueled storm. As the 2020 holiday season approached, more people were getting back to work in the US, consumer spending was ticking up, and online shopping was exploding.
I'll have one red onion, Amazon.
You've broken the international supply chain with that onion.
I could go for an onion in 2 days.
Access.
I'll take 1 onion in 23 days, please.
To travel, restaurants, shows, and other services, physical products were one of the few ways people could spend their discretionary income. More goods than ever were coming from factories in Asia, and 49.1% of those imports to the US passed through one of just 2 ports, Los Angeles and Long Beach. Compared to a year prior, before COVID...
Right, you understand that, right?
Yeah, I still just don't get why to make more ports. That coast is big.
Oh my God, again, no, we can't, there's not enough people.
Well, pay them more and make it more attractive for people to work there.
Well, run for president on that platform.
COVID hit the US in earnest. February 2021 saw a 31% increase in ships and a 49% increase in container traffic.
And also, like, that shit doesn't happen overnight. Like, you can't just be like, oh, I'm going to build more harbors. Fucking takes forever. And by the time that gets built, our problem with this will probably not be as bad. So it's just it's a problem that's happening right now.
Probably a dumb question, but a harbor, let's say I just have a bunch of land near the coast or on the coast. Harbor's just a place for boats to like sail up to, right? Like what's there? I'm sure like you're supposed to build like little like parking divider lines and stuff like that. But like, what's to stop if this is this critical thing? Why not just take some space on the coast and be like, yeah, you can bring your boats here. Just drop it off here.
The intense, I feel like we're discounting the incredible amounts of transportational, the engineering that goes into something like a harbor hub like this. It is not a system that can just be popped up. I promise you, it's much more complicated than we are just saying, oh, put up new harbors.
But I mean, you couldn't just back a boat up to a beach and be like, drop it off here and we'll figure it out.
No.
Okay.
How do you think they lift these shipping containers, dude? Specialized
Forklifts?
Equipment, those dinosaur-looking things.
Oh, I've seen those when I lived in San Francisco.
Two ports. They just couldn't keep up. Simultaneously, however, a significant tranche of dock workers were constantly out sick due to COVID itself or the quarantine procedures it demanded. But the disorder doesn't end there. While a year ago, a 20-foot container would cost about $1,800, they now run for $3,500. There's a regional shortage of shipping containers that's having global consequences. You see, in 2020, just as much of the world entered lockdowns, China's manufacturing industry was emerging from it. The entire world bought masks, personal protective equipment, and regular goods from the country, and once those containers arrived in ports like Long Beach, they were unloaded. However, due to those destination countries' lockdowns, there wasn't really much that needed to be shipped out. For every 100 containers that are imported into the US, only 40 are exported. So containers stacked up in the places they weren't needed because they weren't needed, and they didn't make it.
What was that?
What?
What was that little vehicle walking away?
A little vehicle walking away.
What is that?
Oh, it's a truck.
They weren't needed, and they didn't make it back to places where they were, like Asia. In the case of the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, their capacity crunch means they don't even have the time to justify loading ships with empty containers for return to Asia. Not only that, but a shortage of truck drivers in the US means that it's tough to actually get empty containers back from their final destinations to ports to send them back to Asia.
There you go.
So, a shortage of shipping containers is worsening a shortage of shipping capacity, which is worsened by a shortage of port capacity, which is worsening the shortage of shipping containers, which itself is worsened by a shortage of truck drivers, all of which is causing a shortage of bubble tea ingredients. Shortages causing shortages causing shortages. It's a vicious cycle that is only worsening as economies reopen. Across the world.
So that's the big takeaway, is just like there's this sort of almost little blip, and the fallout, the trickle after fallout has created this very, very perfect storm of shit.
So is the system designed stupidly, or is this just something that like, because of the way this had to, like, did somebody fuck up, or is this just the nature of the thing? It
depends on who you ask, but it's less about pointing the blame and more about now, like, okay, how do we make this better moving forward? This video does put interesting thoughts on the table here, but anyway, let's keep going, see how far we can make it.
There's a proliferation of scarcity. Lumber prices in the US quadrupled after a predicted decline failed to manifest, and a boom in construction and renovation did instead. The use and construction of pools also accelerated as outdoor spaces became more valuable, spurring increased demand for chlorine, which, when mixed with reduced supply as a result of a fire at a major chlorine plant in Louisiana, led to sky-high prices and insufficient availability. As restaurants pivoted to takeout and delivery, bulk ketchup was out and single-serve packets were in, but with manufacturers unwilling to spend significantly to increase production capacity for a short-term bump, the packets became scarce, and companies started successfully selling them for $10 per 50 on eBay.
What?
However, the greatest shortage of all can be seen here. in the empty parking lots of Anchorage, Alaska's airport. The state relies heavily on its summer tourism season, and after missing it last year, 2021 season is crucial. Facing uncertainty about the legality of their operation until May, cruise companies canceled many of their summer sailings to Alaska, so this year is all about independent, domestic tourists. To traverse the vast wilderness of the last frontier, independent travelers need rental cars. However, these travelers can't get rental cars. Regardless of which date you search in summer 2021, there simply isn't availability.
It's crazy.
For the lucky few who do find one, current market rates are over $500 a day for a compact car. American travelers can now legally, safely, and easily go to Alaska, but they can't get around Alaska, which means that eager travelers aren't going. You see, during the depths of the pandemic, Hertz, Enterprise, National, and other rental car companies sold off much of their fleets of cars. They needed money somehow, and it wasn't coming from rentals themselves. Now, however, with vaccinations easily available to all in the US, there is demand for rentals, yet no supply. In Alaska especially, with
My dad just ran into this. He just visited and was shocked at, like, he was planning on renting a car and coming up here from LaGuardia, and he was like, this is incredibly too expensive.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when we do the autopsy on 2020 and, you know, thereafter, I think the biggest, you know, we'll figure out a lot of things. Some of them, you know, supremely preventable. Others, you know, just sort of like, it happened, and you know the system we have is just not built for this. And all of these little things, you know, now that, like, you know, we can sort of see some of the dust settling, we're like, oh, this caused this. This is why we can't have this now. And there you go, man.
Well, I just don't think nothing was designed with something like COVID in mind. It's like, I'm sure if Godzilla popped up and started destroying LA tomorrow, it would be like, oh, we didn't even think about this if Godzilla attacked.
Oh, the Godzilla protocol? No.
Yeah, it fucked up, I don't know, like weird shortages are happening because of Godzilla. Like, no, they couldn't have foreseen this, you know?
Yeah, you could also not equate a supernatural disaster to a very
disease, which it's happened throughout human history. Yeah,
which I feel like literally everyone had been fucking screaming, you know, off rooftops, being like, "This is probably gonna happen one day.
There will be a pandemic at some point." Yeah, that's true. It turns out through history. I know that much. I know that there have been plagues and so forth that were bad in history.
Good.
It's highly seasonal tourism market. It's normal for the rental car companies to sell off their old vehicles in the fall and purchase new ones in spring, but the latter half of that didn't happen this year because there's a massive global shortage of new cars, and manufacturers
You knew that, right?
No.
You knew it's like almost impossible to get a new car now.
Really? When did that start?
I want to say like 10 months ago.
Oh, I had no idea. I think I bought mine right before the pandemic.
Yeah, it's mostly because of the chip shortage.
Unable to fulfill
chips and cars.
We're just opening up too many cans of worms here today, Dan.
It says, well, I know like Tesla is
your car's a big part of your car is a big computer.
Well, I know like a Tesla can play Stardew Valley or whatever, but like my little car, like
your car has a computer in it. Yes.
I don't know if you know my car.
Unless is it a Model T? Your fucking car has a computer in it.
That's a new Subaru.
Yeah. Oh my god. What year? 2001?
20 probably. Well, it's I got before the pandemic.
Computer, dude. Fucking computer.
You come out here and take it apart and tell me there's a computer in there.
I know. I have a 2014 Subaru and it's got a computer in it.
Mr. Fancy Pants Computer Car Bacalar over here.
Rental car companies are asking for. You see, in spring 2020, as COVID took hold of the globe, car manufacturers canceled and reduced their orders for components as they anticipated reduced demand for new vehicles. They were right on that. Demand did go down as it tends to during any recession, but it recovered faster than anyone imagined. Regardless, the plan was that, once recovery started, they'd boost component orders and manufacturing in step. The problem was that they're now at the back of the line. And for one critical component of modern automobiles, there's quite a long line.
Yeah, modern cars need a PS5. That's what they're saying.
That'd be
Computer
cool.
chips are sold out.
Pimp My Ride still around?
everywhere.
Huh?
Is Pimp My Ride still around?
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay.
Our former employer maybe could resurrect the series. Yeah, chips. Can't fucking get chips. Chips.
Now,
chips,
when you say
chips.
chips,
Silicon chips.
like,
Brains.
oh,
The
like I
brains
don't
of-
understand a lot of stuff. Like my mouse here, does this have a chip in it?
Yes.
So would this be affected by the supply shortage if I want to get a new mouse?
Possibly. Sure.
A remote, does that have a chip in it?
Yeah.
So chips are just like anything electronic has chips.
Pretty much. Pretty much. I don't know if like, I want to say like depending on the product, the complexity of the product.
Like a laser pointer, would that have a chip in it?
Well, it's got some kind of like switch on it, but I don't know if that's this. The major components that we consume, cars, TVs, even refrigerators, right? Like those are the big time products that have serious computing power in them. That
why does a fridge have computing power?
Well, now fucking fridges have like computers in them because it's like
unnecessary.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
I thought that was all you did.
It was the perfect storm of circumstances. First, the US's trade war with China caused the country's manufacturers to start stockpiling the chips. Then, COVID led to production shutdowns in certain areas of the world, demand for consumer electronics exploded as people spent more time at home, and now, even the solution is causing problems, as silicon is both needed in computer chips and vaccine vials. Altogether, the reasons are complex, but the result is clear. This is why you still can't easily buy a PS5, this is why Samsung likely won't release a new Galaxy smartphone this year, and this is why you can't get a rental car in Alaska. In a twist of cruel irony, the car industry is culpable for all of this. That's because, decades ago, the very industry that is now suffering the hardest propagated a system that made shortages such as this so possible. 80 years ago.
So now it gets into like Toyota's issue of like not wanting any waste, like any surplus was wasteful. So he goes into talking about, I believe it's called like just-in-time production, where it's like we don't want to stockpile anything. We want to just have like once this is ready to make, the next step should be ready to make. It should never be like waiting and waiting and waiting.
Right.
It should always be like seamless. So that's what this whole sort of like backstory on Toyota gets
Incredible
into.
Economies of scale. Their process was batch manufacturing. At a given time, a given assembly line would build one type of one model of one vehicle.
So with so much of this being because of like ships and stuff and going across the ocean and ports and all that stuff, would all of this be sidestepped if everything was just made domestically? Because then you just got to put it on a truck or a train.
Yeah,
right?
I thought about that too. Yeah, I mean, like the global shortage, like that. I mean, I don't think there's like severe domestic shortage.
Like if Sony had a PlayStation factory in Redwood City, like would there be a PlayStation shortage?
I don't think it would be as bad, but that's the thing. The thing is not about what's being made here. I mean, again, the lack of truck drivers is probably going to hurt that as well.
Right.
But also, it's more the fact that we are a global economy and we are like Earth is the thing. It is not the US, it's Earth. It is the planet. That the way the planet's supply chain infrastructure is set up is the reason we're in this situation.
Okay. So I guess that's something I don't get is like if we're having trouble getting silicon chips over here or silicon resin, whatever the things are that we are having trouble getting over here, why don't we just make them here? Like there's nothing about like exclusive to like, oh, you can only make computer chips in China. Like just make them here.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds good on paper, but there's like one major chip manufacturer. I think they're called like TMCS or something like that. So it's Taiwanese.
Well, there's one now, but like what would stop me if I decided like, oh, here's an opportunity. I'm going to start a chip manufacturer here.
So the quick answer to that, the company I was talking about was TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. They make like all the chips on the earth, basically, right?
But isn't there a space for another company to be like, well, we're going to do that and make it more available?
That's fine. But again, it goes back to your harbor question of like, why don't we build more harbors? Can't just build them. It takes time.
Sure, yeah.
They're going to build, apparently they're building new semiconductor factories in Arizona or some shit like that. It's gonna take like 5 years. You can't just build a chip factory.
Yeah.
It's a incredibly complicated facility.
Sure.
That has to be like perfect. Think about the conditions to make a fucking microchip, right? Like, dude, it takes forever.
Yeah.
It has to be perfect. It is not just like a snap your fingers. We got a new Costco. It's just not that.
That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
that's the problem. Yeah, man, it sucks. And the worst part about it, you know, obviously the human impact of like, what's this really going to do to us as a society? Like, how's that going to fuck us? You know, not just from a, you know, monetary point of view, but like our health. Like, when does like health get impacted somehow through all this? It's very complicated. But I feel like we did a pretty good job of like understanding and unpacking how we got here to this global supply situation that we're currently in.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever really thought about like how things come to be and how they get to the store and get to your house and everything. Like,
Totally.
I got a bunch of stuff, but I've never once thought about like, oh, this was made here and then it got put on a boat and then it came over here. Like, I've just never considered that stuff. I know it was like made in a factory somewhere, but like, I don't really know. So
you haven't personally experienced any sort of supply shortage?
OLED, switch OLED. I'm looking at Wario 64's Twitter account like 80 times a day. Other than that,
I mean, but that console shortages are nothing new.
Wasn't I thought like
Chipotle,
didn't Chipotle have like for a few days they didn't have barbacoa or something?
Yes, the great cilantro shortage of 2020.
Honestly, I'm trying to think of I don't think I've noticed any of this. Like, what have you noticed? Like, what do you mean? Like, for most people, like, what are you talking about?
Well, like,
I don't doubt you. I just don't know what you mean.
Well, like, you know, I think grocery stores have been impacted. I mean, not just since the pandemic when people were sort of panic buying, right?
I have not really been to a grocery store in years.
But you get food. Where do you get your food?
The grocery store Bonk does that.
Yeah, but like, she didn't come back and be like, oh, there's no toilet paper.
No. We've had toilet paper the whole time.
Okay, and that's more of the panic buying thing.
I would notice if I didn't have toilet paper.
Yeah, well, clearly your hands would just be a mess. I think
I got a bidet, 2 of them.
That's true. Yeah, good point. Big shout out to Big Bidet. Yeah, so like, there are things that you cannot get. If you were doing construction on your home, you would have noticed like
lumber. Yes. Okay. So we bought a house during the pandemic, and we had to go with certain things where it's like, oh, we were thinking, oh, well, let's do hardwood floors, but then it's like lumber was insane, and so we had to go with like laminate floors and things like that. So yes, we did notice that.
Yes. So okay, so you have been impacted as sort of, you know, not crucially impacted, but
oh no, the floors are great.
But yeah, but so there's just been a lot of stuff. If you know, car manufacturing, some appliances, a lot of appliances are tough to get. I've been, you know, again, thankfully not super crucial. You know, I've been waiting on like front doors for 8 months. They can't get front doors here for some reason. So it's just, there's a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, and I hope, I want to make it clear that, like, I hope any of me not experiencing this directly, it's not me downplaying. Obviously, this is a huge issue.
No one
just,
would
when you ask me, like,
sure.
you know, I honestly have to answer that, like, no, I don't, outside of, like, the OLED, I have not noticed this.
Right. I mean, look, it is, again, like, product shortages are important, too, because it's what keeps the economy going, right? So, like, it's, you know, they're important for their own reasons. Anyway, that's the story, man. I'm just glad you now know that most of the shit you get comes here on a boat.
That is not something I had ever considered. And I mean, good for boats. It's I thought that
huge week for boats. I
thought boats were kind of confined for like speedboat tubing on lakes, and then also like cruises, like, you know, booze cruises or whatever. It's good to hear that boats are still going strong.
I'm psyched. You're psyched about
Congrats, boats
still being important.
Yeah.
You mean we're not shipping all these refrigerators on planes?
I thought they were all on like snake eater planes. I thought it was just like, look, those planes are big. Like I assumed everything was on planes for the most part. Like, I knew big boats existed. I know big boats aren't extinct, but like I didn't think they were like used all the time for like supply stuff.
Yeah, it's basically everything.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Planet, it's crazy. Supply chain, crazier. Dan Reichert,
Jeff
I gotta
Packler.
tell you, buddy, this has been a fun ass episode.
It has. It's been informative too. Thank you, Jeff Packler.
Thank you. Look, you go into a thing, you're like, I'm probably gonna be on the same level as Dan on this one, and then he wastes no time in proving me as wrong as I could be.
Sometimes I'll surprise you with how much I know about something, and then the pendulum swings both ways. Sometimes
It certainly does, my friend. It certainly does. Sometimes all the way back around and kicks you in the back of the ass. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Holy shit, this was great, Dan Reichert. Thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you, Jeff Packler.
You're quite welcome. Always a damn pleasure. We'll see you next time on Back to School. Read a book.
Oh, okay. I've heard these words. Are NFTs involved? Bitcoin? Wow. Off the coast of Los Angeles. I think I get camels. I thought they all ran. They're like chugga 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 chugga. Chugga 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 chugga.